Okay, so we're just going to continue on with the zip. So we're nearly done. We've got the main zip with all the teeth, we've got the black backing, we've got the stopper at the bottom, we've got the different segments of the zipper. So if you go back to your sketch or your photograph, the only thing missing at the top you can see here are just two little stoppers at the top, and you've kind of got a detail where the backing is curving into the zip teeth. So we're just going to create this top here. So all we need to do here is just create two little squares. If your square is a different color, remember you've already got your gradation in your swatches. So just click on the gradation swatch. So you've got that little stopper selected. So they're just small little bits of metal at the top that stop the zip from, or the zip head from falling off. So we're just going to create two little, just zoom right in there just so you can really sort of capture that detail. There's one, and we're just going to click Shift Option, duplicate that, and spin that around. So if you notice these little handles on the outside, if you just highlight the corners of those, they'll give you options for scaling or stretching. Scaling if you press Shift, Option Shift, or if you just roll over the corner, you'll see two little arrows appear. That just indicates that you can rotate the shape. So let's just put that into the correct position there. And so there we have our zip with the two stoppers on the top. And what we're going to do now is just add in a couple of curves in the top to show the zip opening. So with our black backing selected, just click on Add Anchor Point. We're just going to add an anchor point, one right in the middle of the backing. We're going to then select that anchor point. Actually, we're going to add just two more anchor points, one towards the edge of each side. And if we select our direct select tool, we're just going to grab that center one, holding Shift, just drag that down. And now we're just going to add a little bit of a curve on the side here. So click and hold your pen tool, select your Convert Anchor Point tool. I'm just going to click on this anchor point here, click and Shift, hold down your Shift, otherwise your curve's going to go everywhere. Just hold down your Shift key just to put a slight curve on that. Again for the other side, just hold down your Shift. Make sure you're going the right way as well. You don't want to end up with a sort of a weird curve like that. So just make sure that's being dragged out in the right direction. And then from here, just play around with the curves just until you get a nice curve. And all your sketches and photographs may look slightly different as well, depending on the angle that you've taken them at. So you can just play around with the different curves and things here. Right, I think that looks around about right. You can always just go back and adjust just some of these little details until they look right. Right, so there's our zipper. What you should do now is just, with your select tool, just select all of that zipper, go up to Object and Group, or you can press Command G. So now we've got one entire unit there selected. So now from there we can duplicate, we can scale, we can stretch if we need to, not that we need to stretch it, and we can also rotate it. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to use some rotation, we're going to use some scaling to get them placed nicely just at the edges of the back of the skirt. So just zoom out a bit. So now we just need to create, we have the front of the skirt. So as I mentioned previously, we're just going to use the same shape. So select that, Option, Shift and drag just to duplicate that skirt. And we're just going to remove that top portion. So that was the outline deleted, so select that and delete that. So now we've just got the front of the skirt, which is essentially the same. We've just taken out that depth because we've already reflected that on the back of the skirt. Same details, you've got the same amount of stripes, you've got the double stitching going across the hem. So now what we need to do is just to place those zips. So you can see the zips run at roughly the same angle as the edge of the skirt. I know you've got a curved skirt, but just choose something that's roughly the same angle as the edge of that skirt. They're looking a little bit big at the moment, so if you just select that, highlight one of the corners of that's called a bounding box, and just hold Shift just to scale that. And again, always referring back to your reference image, let's just scale that to something that's roughly the correct size. Actually, you notice the angle is probably not as much of an angle as the edge of the skirt, so let's just rotate that back in again just a little bit. And I think it's roughly, it could be slightly bigger. So let's just put it there. I'll just rotate that a little bit more. There, and I think that looks around about right. So what we need to do now is click on that zip, Option, Shift and copy. You can do two things here. You can either rotate it just using the edge of the bounding box. The other way to rotate it is if you select your rotate tool. That's also another way of rotating it. So you can either do it that way. You can just select the edge of the bounding box and rotate it. It's really up to you how you want to do that. The other way of doing it would be duplicating this zip, select your reflect tool, click, hold Shift, and that will give you a direct mirror. So that's another way of doing it. So many ways of rotating objects. So if we look at this detail, so you notice the black backing actually comes right up against the edge of the skirt. So what we can do here is just go back and really just adjust some of these details. So you can just move the zipper down just so that's right, sort of running along the edge. You can't really see it here. That's black against black, but you can notice it on the white segment. This one you notice it a little bit more, so let's just bring that down, just so the top of the backing is running along the edge of the skirt. There, and then we have the front of the dress. So I'm going to post one more video, and we're going to be looking at a detail. So if you remember from the exercises, we need to show the front, the back, and we also need to show a little detail of the zip and the skirt that's open. But there we have the front and the back of the skirt.